During the week, the Redemptorist congregation in Rome elected a Brazilian priest as Father General. Father Rogério is the name of the new general, and he will lead the worldwide congregation for the next 6 years. Rejoicing in his election, I found myself thinking of my earliest memories of my own time in Brazil on mission. I recalled the prevalence of rosary beads, hanging from mirrors in cars, from bedposts and clocks, wrists, bar stools and beer kegs. The rosary beads belonged to people who rarely passed through the doors of any church. The beads seemed to represent the people's way of appropriating the traditional beliefs of Christianity and expressing them in their own everyday spiritual practices. I work primarily with struggling communities and noticed that their religious practices included a set of experiences, beliefs, and rituals which they, as a more or less peripheral human group, created, assumed, and developed to find access to God and salvation which they could not find in what church and society presented as normative. In today's gospel, Jesus responds to a question about how to increase faith by talking about mustard seeds, mulberry trees, sheep, fields, the sea, and plows. Jesus is revealing that greatness can reside in something tiny. In Brazil, I witnessed lived faith that encounters and names God from within the local community's experiences of life and death, word and silence, joy and suffering, liberation and oppression. Its practices express a strong spirituality that recognizes the presence of the divine in the routines and surprises of everyday life. Shaped in a mixture of suffering and abuse and often violence, the religion rooted in these communities comprises a network of beliefs, ethical expectations, rites, and prayerful experiences that together convey the vibrant presence of God in the midst of daily life. Another notable aspect of this people's form of Christianity is that its observance is accessible to all, being lay-led rather than organized by the ordained or professional clergy. St. Paul, in his letter to Timothy, imagines the church as being trusted to look after something precious. As church-led spirituality cracks and falters in modern Ireland, searching citizens often look for the precious outside the church. In August, while working in Dublin, I learned about the number of people who now visit mediums to help them with their grief when a loved one dies, and the increasing trend of families to bypass traditional church rituals for funeral services that engage spiritualists. On a weekly basis, I watch out in the Irish Independent weekend magazine for the Barbara Power interview. Barbara always asks her interviewee, "Do you believe in God?" Two answers in recent weeks that struck me include the trad musician Martin Hayes under a banner headline "And buying his fiddle its very own playing seat." Martin replied, "I do believe in something beyond our physical reality." And hotelier Noel Cunningham, who under a heading on aging being kind and growing up gay in rural Ireland who answered, I totally believe in God. I've experienced His love on more than one occasion. All of this suggests to me that while faith is diminished in Ireland, it is still alive. How can we increase faith? God hints at the importance of vision in the reading from the prophet Habakkuk. Paul emphasizes the treasure of sound teaching. Jesus urges us to serve others and to see that service as a privilege in itself, where no reward is necessary. My own belief is that the sense of faithful Christians is vitally important. The faithful as a whole, baptized, anointed, and moved by the Spirit, has an intuitive grasp of matters of belief that is ultimately reliable. Yesterday, the 90-plus Redemptorists present in the General Chapter met with Pope Francis. If I had had the privilege of being with them, I would have liked to tell them about how last month a hapless Italian robber, along with 3 colleagues, started tunneling in an abandoned shop near the Vatican in an effort to rob a bank. But when a section that passed under a road collapsed, one of them found himself trapped 6 meters underground for 8 hours. The trapped man prayed, while the other 3 called the emergency services. Faith ignites when people struggle. The church's mission is to be close to those who suffer. Furthermore, I would say to my Redemptorist brothers, remember, as you pass through the majestic corridors of the Vatican, that greatness more often than not resides in something tiny. Amen.